right, everybody, welcome to the True Crime News. And I have a new co-host, Bonnie Lee, and she has her own true crime podcast. So tell us all about your show, Bonnie.
My show was on, I think my last episode was over a year ago, and I took a little bit of a break. And then now I'm back to writing out all my episodes. I've got a few scripts ready. And so this fall, I'll be back to sort of pick up where I left off, covering mostly Canadian true crime cases. And a lot of them I focus on are here in the prairies where I live. So I do that.
Yeah, I don't think there is a lot of coverage of like crime stories that happen in that part of the country.
Yeah, sometimes uh, there are some where people who are focusing on Canadian cases will happen to cover one that happened in the prairies, but the population is a little smaller in the prairies than it is, say, in Ontario or BC, Montreal. So we don't get as many big cases out here, but there's a couple.
Well, one effective way, I'm sure, to murder someone in that part of the country is when in the middle of one of those Winnipeg winters, just drive them up to the middle of nowhere, leave them for dead.
Absolutely. It gets pretty cold out here. We do get some pretty bad weather.
Well, I've heard like you'll see people walking down the street kind of like holding like scarves and things to their face because
Yeah.
it's that bad.
Oh, regularly in winter, that's a pretty common sight. It gets pretty cold. Also, it's pretty flat terrain here, so the wind picks up quite a bit. We get some pretty brutal wind as well. So,
Oh my,
yeah, it's a cold place.
yeah. Winter peg as they
Yeah,
call it. All
that's
right,
right.
so I'm going to go through my first story here, and the headline is Pilot arrested on child sex abuse material charges after landing at San Francisco airport. So a pilot was arrested aboard a Delta Airlines flight, and federal agents took him into custody from the cockpit after the plane landed at San Francisco International Airport. The pilot, whose identity wasn't immediately released, was arrested on charges relating to child sexual abuse and material, an official with the Department of Homeland Security said Monday. Passengers aboard the flight from Minneapolis to San Francisco on Saturday posted video online showing federal agents walking through the aisle of the plane. A message left with Delta Airlines was not immediately returned, and authorities provided no other details about the arrest. I mean, that's kind of odd that they wouldn't answer a call or anything. Like,
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm assuming a job like that. I mean, I know almost every job, even, a very sort of entry level retail job, you do a criminal record check.
yeah,
So you would think there would be regular criminal record checks. So, from what both of us have probably seen with cases involving people, with charges involving children, it's usually not, they just go crazy one day, and that it's usually there's like a history that's kind of building over time. So I just find it strange that he'd be working there and no one sort of had a concern about about him.
but
Very
these
unusual.
guys just, I don't know. There's no real, there's no stereotype when it comes to pedophiles. Like, you,
True.
you can't just look at somebody and think he must be a pedophile, because
Yeah.
it's that way with any kind of crime. Like, really, like I've covered so many serial killers, and there was only one where where somebody talked to them and got a really bad vibe and thought this guy's bad news. Like, he was Rodney Alcala, the
Oh,
the
yeah.
dating game killer, the girl who won him, I guess you'd call it. She talked to him.
Didn't
She just saw red flags, and that.
yeah, didn't she not go on the date after she won?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's funny because like I saw the clip of the show, and he came across as totally normal.
Totally. Yeah.
The people backstage just like one of the producers said he had bizarre opinions. I don't know what that meant exactly, but Yeah, I guess if you're a serial killer and pedophile, you probably do have some odd opinions.
I know, but think about even not only just ourselves, but like even people we know that if someone asked me, do you know people with some bizarre opinions? The answer would be yes. Are they pedophiles? Most of them, no. I don't think so. I guess that's the thing. You never know.
Well, there are certain behaviors I've noticed, and this is one that they don't seem to give much coverage to like law enforcement experts, but I've noticed serial killers, they seem to have a hard time with holding down jobs in the long term or going to
Mm,
school. Like that, making those kinds of commitments seems to be challenging for them, I noticed.
yeah. Um, it's interesting. I don't want to go off on a great big tangent, but it does tie into something that I found very surprising. Just today, I heard about. I don't know how familiar you are with the Brian Coberger case. That was the Idaho 4 case that has kind of been in the news lately.
Oh,
Um,
also, yes, what does that consist of? I haven't heard about it.
that fellow, he's the young guy that was in university and he was studying criminology. He was working on his PhD and he was student teaching as well, or TAing, I guess you would call it. And he murdered 4 students in Idaho at their off-campus living. It was a house that they lived in off campus, and he murdered all 4 of them. And he didn't have any previous history of any criminal behavior, and it took a while for them to kind of locate where this guy was and who he was. He didn't get arrested immediately. There was a bit of a search involved looking for him, and eventually it was figured out who he was. They determined it through genetic genealogy, which is something we're hearing about a lot more often now. And so he was arrested. And just recently, he finally decided to plead guilty, and so he was just sentenced a few weeks ago. So more information is now being released. And one of the interesting things was that some of the people who worked at the university where he was studying had commented that they felt they should try to do something, or if there was something that they could do to impede his studies. And you'll have to research me if to get the exact wording, but I was just very surprised to hear today people saying in the news that the way that they worded it was, this is someone who we think that if he continues with his education, he's someone that very likely in the future will be talking about him stalking people, possibly raping people, like sexually assaulting people. Sorry. And he just seems like he'll be a dangerous character in the future. And that was kind of held back because for the trial, they didn't want all of this information leaking out. But since he pled guilty, information is kind of slowly being released. And that was something that was very shocking because, I mean, it sounds like even his own educators were thinking this guy's going to be kind of dangerous in the future. He will be a dangerous guy. And there were some female students that complained about him being awkward, that he was scary. And so it was interesting because he would be probably one of the fewer people that I've heard of who people were already talking about him probably being dangerous before he had actually ever done anything. Just that he had the sort of, I guess the better way to put it would be like he gave people some alarm bells just from his behavior, things he was interested in, the way he talked about them, gave people concerns. And I don't know. He wasn't a Ted Bundy where people were just like, oh, he seemed charming and intelligent. And I'm so surprised. This was someone who people were like, yeah, that guy was kind of scary.
It sounds like he must be the kind of guy who doesn't just kill someone with a gunshot, but he draws it out or
Oh, he did. Yeah, it was really, really kind of hard hearing the little bit of details that they released about the murders. The victims, it was 3 females and 1 male, and the stab wounds were like exponential between 30 and 50.
holy shit.
Yeah, like he
Those are
definitely.
those are Manson numbers.
Yeah, yeah, like, and he was in and out of the house, like, you know, around 4:30 a.m. around that time, and in and out really quickly. Uh, and it seems like now he was kind of scoping out the place. Apparently, one of the girls was outside taking her dog out for a little pee break and said, I think I have a stalker. It seems like there's someone around watching me. I think there was someone in the trees tonight, and the dog was acting kind of weird. Like the dog could sense there was someone back there. And she's like, I kind of freaked out. And she had mentioned it to a few people. And it's just one of those things, where probably everybody thought, oh, that's weird, but it's probably nothing. And one of the rare times where, but anyway, this guy, yeah, he's a real piece. The more you learn about him, the more you go, yeah, he seems like he would definitely be a problem.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. But anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to infringe on your story that you were talking about, because um, I think it does fall under that umbrella of people, professionals that you would never ever think, oh, a pilot, they're almost in the same sort of uh, I don't know, harass is the word I use, but like the group of people that you would go, I don't know, they're very professional. They must be vetted very closely, you know, and, would someone who, assaulted that many people really be able to hold down the job as a pilot and be a professional? I guess that's the answer. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, a person who doesn't have a criminal history definitely has that as a as a means of fortifying them against being monitored.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, if an offender hasn't, if a potential offender hasn't offended yet, or if nobody has found out about what they're doing, what
Yeah.
can you do, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. And the opposite of, say, a Coberger that I was just talking about, he gave people an ick feeling because he did seem odd. He was very weird around women and just giving off all these signs, where I don't think I've ever been around someone and thought, oh, their behavior is kind of unusual. I bet they're a pedophile. Like, you would have to see them interacting with children in an inappropriate way before you would ever even consider that something that was going on.
well, even then, I
And
mean, a lot of them, they groom the entire family. They start with the parents
mm-hmm.
and they move in and they build up trust all throughout the family. So
Yeah,
some of these guys are really good at that.
yeah, and very like, yeah, manipulative. And I mean, I can't remember the fellow's name, but there was a really big case that just happened where the fellow was living, I think he was living in the house with the young girl's mom, and he was assaulting her the whole time. And eventually I think he murdered her. And it's like he was really like embedded into their life. And I don't know, that people seem to be surprised that the mother didn't know anything was going on, but
Have
it's
you?
I think it's possible with how mischievous sometimes it seems like,
Oh yeah.
the pedophiles can be.
Have you seen a documentary called Abducted in Plain Sight?
I don't know. I don't think so. That
It's really
sounds very familiar though. Is that the one with the fellow that was taking their daughter on trips and stuff all the time?
Yeah, they knew
Yeah.
what was going on and they let him, and he managed to manipulate them into sending her out with him. And
And I think, didn't he manipulate the father? Everyone was talking about how he manipulated the father to masturbate him in a car.
yeah, the father was completely straight and he managed to persuade
Yeah.
him to give him a hand job, and it was
That
just,
would show you. That would show you that this fellow is
oh yeah, he
fairly manipulative.
seduced the girl's mother and they had a sexual relationship for a long time. And
Yeah. That
it,
documentary was incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was
I'm looking at
incredible.
and I'm looking at the picture of the guy and it's like him, really. But
Yeah.
I guess when you meet people, they do have a vibe. Some people are charismatic, and
Hmm.
persuasive, and I don't know. I guess maybe what they said about him is true. I don't know. He looked
Yeah.
unremarkable to me, but
There was another documentary, and if I think back, I think we discussed it before, but it really opened my eyes. It was a documentary about males that were pedophiles who it was kind of just showing, for lack of a better way to put it, their side and talking about how a lot of them wanted help. They wanted to reach out and get help. They didn't want to hurt anyone, but the act of even asking for help could make them vulnerable to persecution of some sort, or people finding out about them. There were
yeah,
some people, I think, in the documentary who had offended and then were getting help. But once people find out that that you've had that bad behavior, there's it seems like one of those things that people very easily, if they find out you're a pedophile, oh, they can hate you openly out
yeah.
loud.
Well, there's a documentary called "Incest: A Family Tragedy," and there are interviews with pedophiles in that. That's a good one. Apparently, there's only one place on Earth where there's a clinic where a pedophile who has not offended can go and get counseling so that they can refrain from offending.
Yeah.
It's in Germany. There's nowhere else on Earth. And
Yeah.
it's important to punish people who do that, but who offend. But I think prevention is equally as important.
Oh, for sure. And that documentary kind of highlighted that. Like, I am the least sympathetic to, anyone who's going to injure a child, in any way. I just, but that's how I think most people are. So it's very easy to be like, well, I don't know what happens to them. Who cares? But at the end of the day, there seemed to be at least a sort of like a slice of that population that was like, I don't want to be a pedophile. Something's wrong with me. I don't want to hurt a child, but I can't act like I don't have these feelings or this inclination, because I fear it would, you know, gain power over me. So I would really like to get help.
Yeah,
But asking for help can bring you other problems.
it's not about feeling sorry for them or
No,
it's about rehabilitation. It's
yeah.
about creating an action plan so that if they have those urges, they can walk away from it in some way.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
have a way to keep themselves in control. But I think most people just think of, anyone who, you can sort of put that label on as, I've always kind of had this idea that like there's really nothing you can do for them. Their circuitry is just wired up wrong. And that's just the way they are. And they will reoffend. It's inevitable. And you know when actually I think that if they sort of come to realizations about things in their past, the way they were treated, often offenders were also assaulted when they were children,
Yeah, they
and
were.
sort of dig through those things, I think you would find that there would be less rates of revisited revisited behavior like that, if they had the ability to work through those things. And then of course there are the pedophiles that are just bad people,
Yeah,
and
they're evil.
they'll never be okay. But I think it's more common than a lot of people think.
Oh
And
yeah.
you have to have help for those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
All right, so what's your first article?
So, oh yeah, sorry, I went way off topic there, but
Oh, it's okay. It's the
it's
best.
one
That's
of
the
those
best
things.
material. Yeah.
um, this story was one that happened in the middle of July, so we're back a little ways, but it's about us. It was in the U.S. news that I read about it, and it was a bitter Texas woman who tried to poison her ex-husband when he was engaged to someone else. And she did it by, since we were just discussing, you never know what's going on with a person. She tried to do it by sending congratulatory fentanyl laced chocolates. So that would be one way to get people to open the package. She
Congratulatory, sorry, for what occasion?
for he was being engaged. He was engaged
Oh,
to a new wife. So she sent some fentanyl chocolates over to congratulate him on his newly found relationship. But this was actually after something else interesting happened. So the story goes that she was a bitter divorcee, and she had actually previously had a botched plot to kill her ex-husband by hiring a hitman. And the term they used was he got cold feet. And so the hitman thing didn't work out so well. She was 63, and she was caught on tape by an undercover officer trying to hire someone to murder him. And he didn't go through with it. So she ended up injecting fentanyl into a box of expensive chocolates, and she wanted to have them delivered to her newly engaged ex-husband. And inside of it was a sort of fake honeymoon incentive from a travel agency. I don't know what that means. Maybe a deal on a vacation or something.
yeah.
And that was about 18 months after she had tried to have him assassinated. So the way they word it is they say, it's just fortunate that the hitman had a conscience and reached out to me, which was the ex-husband. I've spent pretty much the better part of a year and a half with the lights off in the house, floodlights and cameras in the backyard. It's been an experience. That's what he was telling the news. And he alleged that his vengeful ex wanted him dead so that she could covet his son's inheritance and reclaim the home that they shared. They were divorced in 2020. So, how did they discover the chocolates is the crazy question. They just say that undercover officers kind of lured her to order to sort of make a purchase that she believed was real fentanyl in a motel. So I suspect what happened was when she tried to hire a hitman, she was on their radar. And so I guess they had undercover officers interacting with her. And so she thought she was purchasing fentanyl from someone that she was meeting at a hotel, and then ended up being caught. She also had 9.5 grams of meth on her at the time that she was
Wow, that's
arrested. So I think she was going through it. That divorce sounds like it really caused her a lot of mental health issues. And so that fellow was pretty lucky because those chocolates could have come and caused a lot of problems for him or
oh, yeah.
his future wife.
Well, I'm
Yeah, there's
wondering.
a
I'm wondering if they were homemade chocolates or if she bought them in a store.
no, she said they were high-end chocolates. I'm guessing
I
she bought them, at a nice store, to make it look like they were fancy. I guess she was gonna inject them with the fentanyl.
yeah, I guess so.
And so yeah, if you get chocolates from someone, make sure you know them really
Yeah,
well and they don't have a bad issue with you from the past.
yeah. Probably the best brand for that would be those Lindor chocolates with this
Oh yeah.
center. You inject in that's liquid in there, and
Yeah, because you wouldn't maybe necessarily notice that the consistency inside of it is different because you would just think it's creamy.
well, I don't think you would like. I had a problem with chronic pain for a while because of varicose veins, and
Oh yeah.
I took oxycodone, and there's no flavor, there's nothing that it doesn't feel or taste different than any other kind of pill.
Right.
So yeah, fentanyl doesn't set off any kind of alarms in that regard. So
Yeah.
yeah, you would eat the chocolate, not it wouldn't even occur to you that something like that was
Yeah. And you wouldn't immediately, anyone around you, if you suddenly, were passing out, they wouldn't even think to Narcan you. Like they
no.
wouldn't be thinking, oh, this is maybe an overdose. They wouldn't jump to that. You were just eating some chocolate. So, and from everything I've heard, fentanyl is pretty fast acting. It doesn't
Oh
take
yeah, yeah.
long. So, yeah, she's a pretty scary lady, this lady. And they have a photo of her name is Pamela Jean Stanley. And when you see the photo, you can tell that she was kind of going through it at the time. She looks like a lady that's going through it.
Boy, that deserves a rendition of Love Hurts by Nasdaq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she needed to find someone else and move on. That's for sure.
Well, it's like Eli Wiesel wrote, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. So
Right.
there's always that dark uh, situate, that dark point where I guess people are always situated between love and hate and cross the wrong line or, you know,
Yeah. And I believe that because usually if you see, a couple that has split up and one side of that couple is still complaining and putting them down and going on and on about it, and the other person has kind of moved on and forgotten about it, you can sort of tell who is still pining over who because they can't quite like move past it and get
oh
on with
yeah.
themselves. So,
I
yeah.
knew I knew a woman who did that for years. She just kept bitching about him, and
Yeah.
I think he cheated on her, and it's like, well, if you really were over this guy, you wouldn't talk
Yeah.
about him at all. So,
Yeah. It's also too, I think sometimes I think like breakups just for anybody can be pretty devastating if you get caught off guard when the other person says the relationship's not working out and it surprises you. And so I can see why there is going to be this time frame maybe where someone is in disbelief, or harbors kind of like anger for
oh yeah,
maybe longer than normally a person would. But I don't know how often it gets past the thought of like, I want to kill this guy. You know, it's like, you know what, you might think it, but you're not going to actually pick up a phone and try to hire a guy to kill him.
well, there is a feeling of victimhood about it.
Yeah,
The person
it's very
feels,
emotional. It's very devastating for some
yeah.
people. Like, it's not even the people necessarily, but in some scenarios where you're completely snowed, you have no idea, and then suddenly this person is breaking up with you and you didn't see it coming. That would be absolutely devastating. Like, I can understand how people, emotionally are going to be really hit by that. But, if you're mentally stable, usually you can figure out a way to, you know, give yourself some time to get better and then move on. But this lady was not doing that. And so she got herself in even more trouble than she was before.
And convinced him even further of the fact that he definitely should have left
Yeah,
in
made
the
the right
first place.
decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one out from Texas, of course.
All right. Here's my next story. The headline is 11 people injured and suspect in custody after random stabbing in Traverse City Walmart. So
Oh, my.
11 people were injured, and if they put random, excuse me, they put random in air quotes, stabbing by a man with a folding knife-style weapon at a Walmart in Traverse City, Michigan, Saturday, according to the Grand Traverse County Sheriff. A 42-year-old man, a Michigan resident, was taken into custody after authorities arrived within minutes. Grand Traverse County Sheriff Michael Shea said at a news conference. Shea didn't name the suspect, but said authorities believe he acted alone. There is no information indicating there were additional suspects, Shea said. It appears that these were all random acts. The sheriff said three of the victims are undergoing surgery and he was awaiting more information about the status of all the victims. Six of the victims are male and five female, he said. Munson Healthcare, a hospital system in northern Michigan, is treating 11 victims from the incident, according to their Facebook
Oh,
post, with six of the victims in critical condition and five in serious condition as of Saturday night. All the victims were stabbed, Munson's spokesperson Megan Brown told the Associated Press. There was citizen involvement in taking the suspect into custody, Shea said. The suspect was not injured, he added. Video obtained by CNN appears to show several people confronting a man in a Walmart parking lot, yelling at him to, quote, throw the knife away and lay on the ground. It's unclear in the video taken from a distance, whether the man is holding anything or throws the alleged knife away. The video also appears to show several people attending to a victim nearby. Citizens in Walmart also assisted in the treatment of victims, the Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office said in a Facebook post. The incident started near the checkout area and involved what appears to be a standard folding knife style weapon, according to the sheriff. He said that the Michigan State Police Crime Lab is en route to assist with processing the scene. Once the scene is cleared, the Walmart will be able to reopen. FBI personnel are also responding to the incident to provide assistance. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino said in a post on X. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer said she was in touch with law enforcement about the horrible news in a post on X. Our thoughts are with the victims and the community reeling from this brutal act of violence. Whitmer said, I'm grateful to the first responders for their swift response to apprehend the suspect. Traverse City is the hometown of former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg's husband, Chasten, and is where the two now live with their children. Along with the whole Traverse City community, Chasten and I are shaken by the awful and senseless violence at Walmart earlier today, Buttigieg said. We're thinking of everyone affected and hoping and praying for speedy recovery for all those who were injured. Walmart corporate spokesperson Joe Pennington told CNN that violence like this is unacceptable. Our thoughts are with those who were injured, and we're thankful for the swift action of first responders. We'll continue working closely with law enforcement during their investigation. Traverse City is located in northern Michigan, around 140 miles north of Grand Rapids. CNN has reached out to Michigan State Police and Munson Healthcare for additional information. Shea urged people to be vigilant. Violence is very uncommon for our area, the sheriff said, but unfortunately no one is immune to this. It's a it's really a shame that these mass casualty incidents in the states. I didn't know about that event until came across that article.
Yeah, I don't
And
remember hearing about that either.
yeah, I mean, it's becoming routine now. Mass
Mhm,
shootings, mass stabbings. It's like Americans seem to be inured to it now. It's just they're used
mhm,
to it since Columbine. It's like, yeah, there's another one. I mean,
mhm.
I don't know.
And it doesn't really give you a good indication of like from the story so far, what kind of precipitated the event. Like he
Yeah,
just showed up, and surprisingly, the community seemed to be very like helpful in just jumping in and keeping him detained.
yeah, yeah.
He didn't get hurt, so that's kind of surprised. I'm surprised people didn't hurt him,
One
and
thing,
then jumping in and helping the people that were attacked as well.
one thing I find puzzling is why they didn't release the name of the stabber,
Yeah,
the offender. I don't understand why they would want to protect his identity. I mean,
I think some people I don't know if this would necessarily be the case, but in this specific example, but I know with school shooters, even they encourage people not to use their name because some of them are motivated by having notoriety for
oh
committing the
yeah, yeah.
crime, and so they'll say, "We're not going to give him or her the that sort of recognition by even mentioning them. We'll just not only name the victims." So, but I don't know that that's the case in that story. Maybe by now they've released his name.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's like how the media doesn't typically cover suicides unless it's a celebrity who
Yeah,
kills himself, but because they don't want, you know, the rest of the population to think, oh, if I commit suicide, then I
yeah,
can get in the papers or whatever.
yeah. I know that's why sometimes you'll see a missing persons ad, in the the news online, or sometimes even on TV. They'll be saying, police are looking for information about the whereabouts of this person, and it's always sad when you see a little blurb like, uh, you know, this person has been located, and thanks for the public's help. And you always think, oh, you never know, they never tell you exactly um, what happened. And sometimes I'm sure it's just a natural death, but many times I think it isn't. And
Yeah.
it's kind of disturbing when you see that.
And then another thing is that the authorities they don't encourage vigilante justice. Want
Yeah.
they don't want people to to take the law into their own hands and then go kill someone because it's I mean it's never legal to commit
Right.
murder. No matter what the uh, uh, the target of your gun has done.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That's right.
you just don't have the authority to do that. Like well, it's like these pedophile hunters, right? The FBI doesn't want people to do that, like tricking a guy into thinking he's going to meet like a 13-year-old girl,
Yeah.
and then he
And
gets
then,
it's one of these guys with a camera, because the thing is, if he didn't actually have sex with a 13-year-old girl, you can't charge him with it. So
that's right.
yeah,
And there's also, whenever you see, I don't know if they do this in the States, but in Canada, I'm sure you've seen this, um, where they're going to be releasing someone from prison, but they are not rehabilitated. Maybe they didn't do all the classes they're supposed to do. They're out on bail, but they're still dangerous. And they'll say, we have to notify the public that this person is being released and they will be out in the community. And they can be a threat for, and they'll say, women, maybe young children, whatever, depending on what they were charged with. And it always says at the bottom, we do not condone any vigilante behavior.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of like they show you a picture of this guy, tell you how bad he is, but if you see him walking down the street, don't spit on him. Just be careful. So
Well, it could also be dangerous. I mean,
absolutely.
he might kill
Yeah.
you. So
That's right. But yeah, I always like can't help but think in my mind, oh man, if I was at work or something and I saw this dude, you know,
yeah.
it would be hard not to say something, but I wouldn't. I'm a chicken. I wouldn't.
Well, as far as them, like, getting out of prison based on successfully completing a rehabilitation program, sociopaths and psychopaths are very good at lying. They're not
Mm-hmm.
afraid of anybody. They can look you in the eye and say something and convince you it's true. So that's one
Yeah.
skill they have.
Yeah. It doesn't, I don't think it means anything sometimes, they completed the classes. So that doesn't make them less dangerous.
You know,
But I do believe in, people changing. I think there are people who they do the courses, but they also within themselves had the desire to change. Some of them just get fed up of the lifestyle that they've had of being in and out of prison, and they're just on the straight and narrow.
yeah,
I mean, that does happen, but in the end, you're trying to protect yourself, so you kind of want to stay away from situations that could mean danger. So
oh yeah, it's a fine
it's
line.
good when they tell the public, warn the public.
Yeah. All right. So, what's your next article?
Well, this one is definitely not as necessarily as intense, but I did get a kick out of this one. This is from Kentucky. It was a guy him and his mom bought a Powerball ticket, and they won the biggest lottery like ever. It was a Powerball for $167.3 million. And so Linda Grizzle was the one who got the ticket with her son, and his name is James Farthing. And so they went in and picked up their winnings. They have a picture of the mother, her son, and his, I think, girlfriend. Might be his wife. I'm not sure. I think it was just his girlfriend at the time. And they're holding one of those big Powerball jackpot winner checks that says $167.3 million. They look really happy. I probably would too. And it was the largest Powerball jackpot in Kentucky history, but I'm guessing it's right up there with the rest of the states. And then days later, he found himself in prison in Florida. So it didn't take long for him to lose his exciting new life. So he got the ticket, the money, April 28th. That was this year. And now he's in Florida facing several charges because he battered a law enforcement officer and was resisting arrest. And so from that, you kind of think, oh, okay, so who knows, what happened there. But later in the summer, so last month, it was kind of revealed in the news that he actually was one of these fellows who was in and out of prison his whole life. He spent almost 30 years in prison, in 25 different prisons before he won the jackpot. And he had a 16-page rap sheet and his charges included strangling a girlfriend, bribing police while in prison, selling cocaine to an undercover police officer. And 3 days after claiming the jackpot, there was an incident where he got in a fight with someone at a Tradewinds resort, which I guess is where they went to celebrate. They had all this money in Florida. It was in St. Petersburg. And he was violating his parole by leaving Kentucky. But I guess when you're a millionaire, you don't really care about things like that. Yeah. And so they were going to arrest him at that incident. And recently, as a few days ago, the video of him being arrested was released. And so actually, since I had first mentioned this case to you, there's video of the arrest happening. And it was actually really surprising how he was fighting off the police. This was not a typical, when they say, oh, quit, don't tighten up. We're trying to put the cuffs on you. We'll charge you with resisting arrest. He was really resisting arrest. He was punching, kicking. He did make contact with one of the officers. He kicked him and punched him. And then it looked like almost in front of a mall area. He got himself freed, and then he was trying to run away. Another cop jumped on him. And so it was enough that I don't know how long he'll be in prison this time. He didn't kill anyone, but his rap sheet is so long that I think this guy will be on probation the rest of his life. I don't think he's going to be able to travel to all the places that he's thinking of going. All that money. I still don't think he's ever going to be truly a free man. I think he will always be on the radar for police wherever he finds himself.
Oh yeah, he's a career recidivist, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I guess the kind of worst thing about it is, of all the people that could have won that money,
yeah, really,
much more well-deserving people than this guy. And imagine if he's been in 25 different jails. Imagine all of the people that have interacted with him in prison that saw him winning all that money.
Oh boy, and for him to go back to prison and then finding out about that money, he better
Oh,
he better be prepared to fight. They're going to find ways to control him, blackmail him, whatever it is.
oh yeah. Could you imagine how many honey buns you could buy with $167 million?
Yeah,
You could buy commissary for everybody.
or just drugs.
Yeah,
Bringing
exactly.
drugs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I thought that was fairly entertaining. I'm gonna assume maybe his mother will probably handle his finances for now, but once he gets out, I mean, he'll still have his money.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. So next time that you go to the grocery store and you can't believe how much you're getting charged for your eggs, you
Yeah,
can remember, you can just remember how good guys finish last sometimes.
well, it's not a matter of crime, though. You could call it what do you call it? High robbery or whatever. Today I saw a video about the prices in Las Vegas, like $20 for coffee and like everything
Oh,
is hugely expensive there. Highway robbery. It's
you
really
know, it's bad now, even in like, and we're like, how usually typically a bigger city, things will be more expensive. And so the city that I'm in is not a bigger city. And I like almost have a heart attack every time I go to the grocery store. There'll be something else that's crazy expensive. And I like can't believe that it's real. Like we
Yeah.
went to buy a coffee, and a, a, a regular container of coffee that would normally be $15, but if you look, you can always find it on sale for about 10. Average price $25 to $30 now.
It's unbelievable.
Like, and it's so when you really honestly in the morning are like, well, I'll just have one cup of coffee. This shit's getting expensive. That's when I'm like kind of getting a little pissy about it. It's and it
But
really makes me wonder the kind of decisions that single moms are making or lower income families are making when things are that expensive. Then you're really trying to make a decision between this or that. I think probably there's a lot of staples that are not getting purchased by people because they just can't afford it.
what's a situation that could lead to a spike in crime because
Absolutely.
choosing between rent and groceries, that's a hard
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have
equation.
kids, you have kids at home and they have to eat, and it's pretty bad to see things sort of the price of things to inflate so much in a span of like 5 years is absolutely not in line with people's income and how much
Oh,
it's
no.
raising. So, I mean, I don't even, like, for me to be kind of getting, I wouldn't say I was getting mad, but I was like kind of in disbelief about it when I saw the price of certain things that I was like, there's no way I would pay that for that, you know?
Yeah.
But um, we don't even have kids. And so that right off the top means we can kind of manage a bit better when things do kind of increase in price. We're not wealthy, but we can kind of handle it. But if we had kids at home, it would be very taxing to have that chunk of your income for groceries. So what we're going to see. So many more people that their kids are just eating Kraft dinner and ramen noodles all the time. They can't afford healthy stuff. And it's just going to compound issues that we've already had for a while. It's just going to make it worse. So I'm kind of going on a tangent, but it makes me sad, not only for myself that I don't want to pay that much for coffee. It makes me sad thinking about how it actually affects families that are just living check to check. So it's
Oh,
really
that
sick.
that innocence is a crime, you know?
Yeah. And then when you see that a cup of coffee in Las Vegas is $20,
Yeah.
then you start to really start to wonder, like,
That's backfired on them now because a lot less tourists are going to Las Vegas because of Trump,
absolutely
and so it's like, well, we're not welcome there apparently, and I don't want to spend,
pay
$25
that much.
for salad. Yeah.
Yeah. I have seen a little bit about that in the news the last couple of days. It's kind of a morbid thing for me to laugh at, but um, I guess there's issues with Air Canada right now, where the people working on the flights want to be paid a more reasonable salary, and so there's all of these flights that are completely grounded this weekend. So it's not like some of them are not working. It's like Air Canada will not be flying for sure. I think Saturday and Sunday, there's like no flights going out. And they didn't show anyone on the news who was like, man, I'm really bummed out. I have a funeral of a family member I was going to go to. I'm sure those people exist. But on the news, the only people they showed were these like wealthy people. There was one fellow who was upset because he has a second home in California and he was planning on going there this weekend. And he was just really perturbed that, we could sort of be held hostage by these airlines. And I was
Yeah,
thinking,
right.
dude, your problems are just, even though to him, it's bad, but it was just kind of funny. They didn't really show anybody that I was too sympathetic for. They just seemed to sort of catch a lot of people that were whining about the inconvenience for them to
Well,
not have the cheap labor on the airplanes that they're used to.
it was kind of surreal seeing pictures of like the interiors of airplanes, and there's like five people in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad it got. And so
Yeah, Yeah, it's bad. And I know a lot of people that would go to Las Vegas. I guess things have really changed because, 10 years ago, people who were like, yeah, you know what, we're trying to save for a house or, whatever, we have some debt we're trying to clear up and we can't really afford our normal vacation. So we're just going to go to Vegas. Like people would go to Vegas because it was like you could always get a pretty decent priced flight. Hotels always had deals. The food would always be super cheap. You couldn't even point and spin without finding a buffet for $5. Like if you wanted to do Vegas cheap, you could. I mean, if you wanted to
Yeah.
spend a lot of money, there was also those opportunities, but you could go to Vegas and not spend a lot of money and still eat, have a place to stay, get some sun. And people would do that often. And now it's like Vegas is an expensive. There was a friend of mine said they went to dinner in Vegas and they were ordering a cocktail. There wasn't one cocktail on the menu at all. That wasn't less than $20.
Oh yeah, that's
So
standard.
you're
Yeah.
not going to go for drinks on this trip
Oh,
if it's going to cost you like, you know, that much money for one drink.
oh man. All right, so
That's crazy.
my next story is the headline is Murder Case Against Father of Montreal Girl Killed in New York Moves to Grand Jury.
Mhm.
So, the case against the father of a 9-year-old Montreal girl found dead in upstate New York will move directly to the grand jury stage. So, I think, if I remember correctly, a grand jury, it's not like a usual kind of jury where it's like, people who are chosen from the voting pool. And in a general trial, I think a grand jury is just people who maybe occupy some kind of position in the law, and it's kind of a closed courtroom. I think I
Yes.
might have that right, but I don't know.
I don't even know if we do we do grand juries in Canada?
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't think I
I think
sound really,
I believe there are closed courtroom trials, but I don't know if they're grand jury.
yeah. I think grand juries are just there to determine if there is plausibility or enough evidence to make a case
Yeah,
for them to move forward and charge, the people that they want to charge. So for them to rush a grand jury hearing would probably mean to me they have no concerns at all that people hearing the evidence they had so far would question whether or not they should move forward with charges. Like
yeah,
it would sound like there was quite a bit of evidence, and it would be. That's why sometimes you hear the expression, yeah, grand jury, you can get them to indict a ham sandwich because the
yeah,
standard of proof is just so low. I think they just have to agree that you could have a case here. This is a reasonable, thing to question. So yeah, they'll say, yeah, you should probably have a trial. So I think the bar is very low. But in this case, for them to be so quick to call the grand jury, my thinking is that they had a lot of evidence.
yeah. Well,
Pretty sure.
the court in Ticonderoga, New York, and the secretary for the district attorney both confirmed that the felony hearing scheduled to take place Friday for Luciano Fretolin has been canceled. Instead, the case will move to a grand jury where its members will assess the prosecution's evidence to decide whether there is probable cause that Fretolin killed his daughter, Melina, and should stand trial. The
Mm.
45-year-old has pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder and the concealment of a human corpse after his daughter's body was found in a shallow pond in New York State last weekend. Police have said Fredolin originally reported his daughter missing and potentially abducted, but officers determined the story to be false. Preliminary autopsy results released this week concluded the 9-year-old Canadian girl died from asphyxia due to
Mhm.
drowning, and the death was ruled a homicide. I mean, I hope this guy didn't just like push his still living daughter underwater and drown
Yeah,
her as she. I hope she didn't experience that, but I guess she did. That's
it sounds like it.
God.
You know, even more like that is kind of mind boggling. Like who can do that? Um, but there are people that can sort of do heinous things. But for me, the even more sort of confusing part is like, have you ever tried to lie to someone?
Well, yeah,
and
I've
they look at you and they go, are you full of shit right now? And then you go, yeah. Like, forget it. I tried. Um, if you strangled your own daughter or drowned her and hid the body and called the police to come because there's been an abduction, how do you keep that composure while telling that story? I mean, I'm assuming fear would motivate him to keep himself calm, but it just seems like as they're asking more questions about, so your daughter's been abducted. Okay, so what? Tell us what happened. What do you know? What was going on? And he would have to have these answers. It makes me wonder if the officers would be in their mind going, "This guy's so he's full of shit." He doesn't seem believable at all. Or if he was able to sort of
well, I
ex-
mean,
give his story and seem reasonable.
well, it's like we were talking about earlier about how people can go crazy from love. Love can give rise to.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah,
same thing with parents. A lot of parents go crazy. I mean, I was doing cases recently about these women who had postpartum psychosis and ended up murdering their children. There's
yeah.
something about that emotional bond with children that does sometimes provoke these crimes.
Yeah. And I guess like I have always imagined, I don't have any children, but anyone I've ever spoken to, they say when they're pregnant, their hormones are just crazy. It affects everything. So once they give birth, it's not like your hormones just all balance themselves naturally within the first, week.
Oh no.
So I imagine that that's part of what postpartum is like. You get this hormonal thing going on that it would make you just, because you hear stories of women that murder their children and their babies, and they're the most responsible, you know, people, never had problems with mental illness, and it's just shocking to people that they would even be involved in that, because these people just think, oh, they must be evil. But I think
Well,
our brains are fairly delicate.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I'm wondering if like looking beyond the chemical explanation, if part of it is that, the baby's born and there's like so much responsibility, so much to do,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it could be overwhelming. I mean, I'm sure it must be.
Oh, for sure. You know what? I can't even imagine it. Like, because I've never had children, to me, I respect parents so much for their, ability to sort of manage all of that, all of it. Like, it just never, you don't get, especially in the first year, like most parents
Yeah.
don't get very much sleep at all, especially moms. You hear people saying, like, well, I sleep for 2 hours here and there where I can catch some sleep. So, right there, I'm like, I would be losing my mind.
But that's the thing, like that sleep deprivation can definitely drive you crazy.
Oh, it would for sure. But I don't think this fellow, his daughter was a little older. I don't know exactly what triggered
Oh no,
him, but um,
could have been a custody dispute.
yeah. But you've seen videos of people, I'm sure, where they're on TV asking for help finding their missing wife, or and
Yeah.
then it turns out that they murdered her.
Oh yeah.
And when you go back and watch, the news reels of them asking for help, pleading for them to come back. I just want my wife to come home. And you think, I can't believe they were able to do it. I would not be able to do that. It's just surprising how some people can pull that stuff together.
Some of them are very good at it.
Very good.
The crocodile tears and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remember the name of this one woman I covered recently, Susan Smith or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that case.
That was
Yeah.
in the 90s. Yep, she put her two kids in a car and set it, and it went, set it up so that it was driven into a lake, and
And didn't she try to
And
blame it like kind of on a racist sort of
on the black
concept? Like,
man.
yeah, there was a black man who did, and when people found out it wasn't true, she became like more than just a monster. It was worse than just a monster.
But when they found out that there was blood all over the car except for the driver's seat, that's
Yeah,
kind of figured,
yeah,
guilty.
man. Well, do you want to get onto my palate cleanser, so to speak?
Sure.
This one I got a good kick out of, only not because I want to see anyone behaving this way, but we at our house watch a lot of those tr- like not only just true crime shows but the live kind of cops shows. And we see or I've seen quite a few where people are, they're not getting arrested no matter what. In their mind, they're not getting arrested and they'll do
Yeah, yeah.
anything so that they don't get detained. So this one I got a little kick out of. It's from in July as well. And the title of the article was Woman Violently Resists and Throws Feces at California Officers
Oh my God.
During Arrests.
My
So
goodness.
when the Reading police officer exited his patrol vehicle, she punched him in the face. And so that's how it all kind of started. So she was suspected of being under the influence of drugs. She was behind a business, and it was a Saturday, like afternoonish time after 4. And so they figured we're going to just go talk to her. And she did not want to be spoken to. And they were going to arrest her for using drugs behind the business. And she was started violently resisting. And so she had punched the officer in the face, and she just the officer tried to detain her. She just took off. And so when he was chasing her, I guess he exited his patrol vehicle and she punched him. So then when he was chasing her, she reached inside her pants and hurled a piece of feces out of her hand at him.
My God.
And you could just imagine in her mind, she's like, "You are not arresting me. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to stop you from coming at me."
That,
So
that's what
anyway,
that's what chimps do.
it is.
Yeah.
So they struggled, and just to add a little to it, she as they were struggling, she grabbed his groin, and he did get her arrested. She's facing charges of assault on an officer and resisting arrest, being under the influence, and all that. This was in Redding, California. It's about 160 miles from Sacramento. But they did not say if that officer took some leave time after that event. I'm not sure, but I would suspect he took a little time off after that.
Yeah, I would imagine. I had to take a shower.
Yeah, I think that would be one of those days where, cops see a lot of bad stuff, but that might have been one of the times where you would be driving home going, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Well, I was watching these videos on TikTok where they were cops, but not regular beat cops. They were bail
Right.
enforcement agents, and
Oh, yeah.
they it seems like the most tiresome aspect of being a cop is dealing with people lying and trying to get out of it, and these
Mm-hmm.
bullshit conversations that go nowhere, and you got to arrest them, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, resisting it. It's just they waste a lot of their time.
Oh, yeah. You see that so often on like those ride along kind of shows. And
Yeah.
it never ceases to amaze me, people that it's the best way of putting it. They're just wasting people's time, but they really think that, I don't know if you remember ever seeing this, but it happens fairly often where someone who's clearly in the wrong, the officer might actually just cut them a break, give them a citation, tell them to show up in court, maybe even later. But their own behavior prevents them from just making things easier for
Yeah, that's
everybody,
true. Yeah.
even themselves. And they'll get cocky, like they'll try to tell the police, like legally, what they can do and what they can't do. So that's always the first clue, is they start telling the police that you can't do this, you can't do that. I know my rights. They always know their rights. And then they'll say, "What's your badge number? What's your last name? What's your badge number?" And whenever I hear that, I always think, just arrest them. Don't even talk to them anymore. Just put the cuffs on them, stick them in the car, because you're not going to be able to have any reasonable conversation with that person anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's the same
yeah,
every time.
the bail enforcement agents are often like, I can get you in and out of court within an hour. It'll be all done. But the person resists arrest in some way, and so they end up in real trouble.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that could have been just such a simple situation ends up being, or people who they're clearly drunk, and they get pulled over for a DUI and they're saying, I didn't have anything to drink today. And you think, just stop talking. And, take your charges, get a lawyer, let the judge decide.
All right, so my last story. Have you ever had a landlord who was just a total piece of shit, just a pain in the ass?
Mm.
Think we all have.
I think I have maybe more than once. I think so.
Well, my next story, the headline is Landlord sentenced to 53 years for killing a 6-year-old Palestinian American boy
Oh,
dies behind bars. This guy, if you look him up, you'll see he kind of reminds me of that character from Poltergeist 2, that old man, that creepy old man.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
he looks
this
a bit
fellow,
like him.
he is an older man.
Oh yeah, he's in his 70s.
Oh my
71.
gosh.
Yeah. A landlord sentenced to decades in prison after he killed a Palestinian American boy and wounded his mother has died. 3 months ago, Joseph Suzuba was sentenced to 53 years behind bars for the attack. He was found guilty in February for murder, attempted murder, and hate crime charges in the death of 6-year-old Wadi Al Fayoumi and the wounding of the boy's mother, Hanan Shaheen. The 73-year-old Suzupa targeted them in October 2023 because of their Islamic faith and as a response to the war between Israel and Hamas, which
Oh,
started the earlier days earlier. Suzupa died Thursday in the custody of the Illinois Department of Corrections, according to a statement from the Will County Sheriff's Office. Ahmed Rahab, the executive director of Council on American Islamic Relations, Chicago office, said in a statement on Saturday that this depraved killer has died, but the hate is still alive and well.
mm,
That is true. That is there that
100%.
invades American society.
It
And
is, that's really sad, though, that he would target a family with a young boy. Why would you,
yeah, right.
if you have some sort of serious issue with the beliefs of a certain group of people or, whatever,
Well,
why would you project that onto a 6-year-old child? you know?
well, we were talking about how some criminals don't look like they'd be criminals. Well, this guy does look
Hmm.
fucked up. He looks crazy. He looks like he's
Yeah.
capable of committing murder and murdering a child. He looks like
Wow.
evidence at the trial included harrowing testimony from Shaheen and her frantic 911 call, along with bloody crime scene photos and police video. Jurors deliberated less than 90 minutes before handing in a verdict. The family had been renting rooms in Suzuba's home in Plainfield, about 40 miles, 60 kilometers from Chicago, when the attack happened. Central to prosecutors' case was harrowing testimony from the boy's mother, who says Suzupa attacked her before moving on to her son, insisting they had to leave because they were Muslim. Prosecutors also played the 911 call and showed police footage. Suzuba's wife, Mary, whom he has since divorced, also testified for the prosecution, saying he had become agitated about the Israel Hamas war, which had erupted days earlier. Police said Suzupa pulled a knife from a holder on a belt, and stabbed the boy 26 times,
Oh.
leaving leaving the knife in the child's body. Some of the bloody crime scene photos were so explicit that the judge agreed to turn television screens showing them away from the audience, which included Wadi's relatives. The attack renewed fears of anti Muslim discrimination and hit particularly hard in Plainfield and surrounding suburbs, which have a large and established Palestinian community. Wadi's funeral drew large crowds, and Plainfield officials have dedicated a park playground in his honor.
That's terrible. that's, that's really, really terrible. And I don't I don't know very many 70-year-olds that would even, gather up enough energy to go and do something like that. Usually they just complain. you know, usually they're just loud complainers, no matter how bad most 70-year-olds are. But to go and commit something so violent,
And when
you get to be motivated.
consider what's going on with these ICE raids and
yeah.
uh, families being broken up, I mean, it's no wonder that
Yeah.
could be crazy people out there who'd consider murdering a 6-year-old like that.
And I wonder too if it I mean, I don't politics is kind of one of those things where, the conversation can go all kinds of ways, but from aside from any political stance on it, I just wonder if seeing the government have so much disregard for certain groups of people, if it in some ways emboldens other people who would kind of feel like, yeah, I don't see this group or that group as real humans, or humans that I would connect with or empathize with. So they're more emboldened to go and behave the way he did, thinking, this is okay, treating people, especially immigrants, treating them like that is, disgusting. But I wonder if some people are emboldened thinking that this is something that is, supported by the government.
Well, I guess if you think your president would approve, maybe.
Yeah, then that's okay, right?
Yeah, and if you're one of those people,
yeah,
be more inclined to do
scary.
it.
But you know what? There's it sounds like this would be different from other cases where someone that, they're a bit older, maybe there is the onset of some kind of a mental health issue, like, dementia or something. It sounds like this fellow was very pointed in his decision and clear-headed about what he was doing. So I'm sorry that he died in prison, but I guess that's just the way it was going to go.
Yeah, really.
And it's, what else struck me was when you said he had over 50 years. Because in Canada now, we can't like stack convictions. So you could be the worst serial killer, ever. And 25 years is the most that they can give you.
Well, they can slap a dangerous offender designation.
Yes.
You can never get out of prison.
Yes. Well, that's what they say. But do you ever, the way the world has been so crazy ever since COVID, sometimes I wonder, I wonder if in my lifetime, Paul Bernardo will be walking the streets,
I doubt it.
I doubt it too. But you see so many scenarios where, especially in the US, where we're quite different from them in terms of our legal system. But, you hear things where a lot of people sort of believe in, pardoning someone just because of the slant that's been presented online. Like there was a lot of talk that Donald Trump would sort of, I think he wouldn't allow them to recharge P. Diddy. He would release him from prison and not let him take him back to court again. And you think, why would you have anyone intervening with your legal system who's a political figure?
Maybe maybe he went to one of those freak parties.
Yeah, maybe he wants to get in on the freak parties. Maybe he doesn't want the parties to stop. I don't know. But in Canada, yeah, that's usually what happens. You get a dangerous offender designation, and then you can have your hearing every 2 years. And then what ends up happening is you just get to re-traumatize the families of the victims over and over again every 2 years for the rest of their life. And
yeah, really.
If we could just give them a 50-year sentence, it'd be a little easier.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. Okay. That's all right. Usually they end up just like picked in. Someone will get their hands on them and that'll be the end of that. Maybe a little sooner.
Well, someone gave him a smack on the way to the showers once, so they do have to protect him pretty closely.
Yeah. Well, Picton, I think was he murdered with a broom handle or a shovel?
Uh,
Bernardo, I don't know.
he's alive.
He's probably been attacked several times, but I think Robert Picton is dead. Someone killed him in prison.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that recently.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least because he had over like probably over 30 victims.
But yeah, a lot. Yeah,
And so 25 years is, so at least there was a little bit of that, prison justice that,
yeah,
ended up just sort of taking him out. But I'm fine with leaving Bernardo locked up. But the fact that they moved him to a medium security prison made me think that I would believe almost anything, that they would do with him. So
yeah. They would. Yeah,
if he's not the worst of the people that we have locked up in Canada, then I don't know who is. So
yeah. He's pretty bad. Okay, so what's
one of
your?
the worst.
Yeah.
That was my last one. Was the
Oh,
feces
that was your
lady?
last one.
Yeah, I was gonna end with the feces lady. I figured that's probably all that your listeners could handle.
Boy, yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
No one's gonna forget that,
No, that was one.
especially not people she knows. That's gonna be.
And it's also like if ever you can learn from her, if ever you're going to be arrested, I think just thinking about her and her story would be a good way to get yourself to calm down and really, I'm just going to put my hands behind my back and we'll sort this all out later because I don't want to end up throwing feces at anybody.
She must have had
Just,
practice. That can't be easy to just unload it that quickly. And I mean,
yeah. And just dig in and throw it. I mean, you got to be, I don't know. You got to be prepared. That sounds like
yeah.
muscle memory to me. She
Oh
must
yeah.
use that as a go-to,
Must, must have
more
done
than once.
yeah, yoga or something like that, maybe.
Anyway, it's been a fun time. I don't know if you have any more crime stories you want to cover, but
No, I'm out.
are you done? There's going to be more crime. I'm sure we'll have more we can
Oh, there
talk
will
about
be
next time.
the Geyser malfeasance springs
Oh,
eternal. That's one thing you can count on.
forever. Absolutely.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening. And we were joined, as I said, by Bonnie Lee. Listen to her podcast, which is called Writing About Crime.
Yes, thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
Adios.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.